How's it going, boys and girls? Happy New Year to everyone here watching the show today, later on, a couple of weeks from now. Doesn't matter. Happy New Year going out to all of you. Welcome to Isles Talk. I'm one of your hosts tonight, Paul Kreischer. Joining me tonight, Gary Harding. Gary, how are you?
How are you, Paul? And Happy New Year in advance as well.
Yes. Yes. So, welcome, Islander fans, one and all. It's been a crazy first two games back from Christmas break. We'll briefly talk about those games. Andrew Gross from Newsday will be joining us in about 2 or 3 minutes from now. So, what we're going to do on this show tonight, Happy New Year to all of listeners, watchers, chat room, you name it. Um, I came across some info just doing some minor research and whatnot. And I got to tell you, it makes for a great New Year's resolution for this Islanders team. We're going to go over those after Andrew's done, but we're going to have a couple of questions for Andrew when he gets on here. But let's just do a quick recap of that first game, Gary. 7-0, no show from Pittsburgh. How was how are you feeling during that game?
It just was like, can't get any worse. I will honestly say I stayed throughout the game. I did not leave.
Attaboy.
I would say in 37 to 38 years of being a season ticket holder, I don't think we've only left maybe less than the amount of fingers on my left hand. And it's only because of medical things or we had something we had to do, whatever. But it was hard to swallow. But you knew, or as I really was thinking, you turn the page. You just forget it, throw the tape in the garbage, give a hard practice, and just forget about it ever happening. And obviously, as a result of what happened on Friday night, they did just that. But
And
it was tough.
did you see Billy Smith's comments?
No, I
Forget it,
didn't.
grab a beer, wait, get on to the
Oh,
next game.
yes. I did see that this morning, this afternoon. Yes, that was great. 2 beers and go.
Couple of beers, go home, forget about it, get on to the next game. That's that's old school, ladies and gentlemen.
That's 31 for you.
That's it. That is 31 for you. Yeah, forget about the tape. Don't even burn the tape. Just throw it out. Whatever. Sage it, whatever you got to do.
Yeah. And
listen. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying. And then, it was so important to me watching the first. And again, we always say, watch the first 5 minutes, see what's
Sure.
going on.
Sure.
You had the fourth line out. Matty Martin did a hit within the first like 15 seconds. And you realize the guys, we always know what that line does, but you saw it with the next 2 or 3 lines going out, that you saw not only the effort was there, but you saw guys being in the right positions. And you're like, okay, they've got it. Just relax, let everything go. I think both teams played a great first period on Friday, but you knew it was, just once something happened to like release the hounds, and after that first goal, you realized, okay, the guys are here to play. And of course, a minute later, it became 2-0, and everything moved from there. So it was really a great sign.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that game a little bit more, specifically with that third line, when Andrew's done. But real quick, we're gonna welcome Andrew Gross right now to Isles Talk. Andrew, Happy New Year, bud. Thanks for coming on for so short.
Oh, Gary, Happy New Year to you and your family. Thanks for having me.
Oh, believe me, it's our pleasure. I know you're waiting in a little while to watch the Detroit Dallas game. I know that's going to be a big match, but
I'm actually doing pre-scouting. I'm sitting in the hotel bar here in Pittsburgh watching the Penguins beating the Blues 1-0 so far.
Yeah, well, we know that's going to be an interesting fest, but let me get your focus on obviously after the 7-0 game and the guys last night. Was it simply just a relationship of just having them get rid of the tape, forget about it, work hard, and get back into what we know as Islander hockey? to the guys?
Yeah, I would think so. And those coming out of Christmas break games can be real crapshoots as to which team is going to show up and not. Um, uh, the Islanders have obviously been kind of all around the map this season, so I don't want to say the 5-1 over the Capitals was any more real than the 7-0 loss to the Penguins. But the way they played against the Caps has been a little bit more like what we've seen out of them. The 7-0 really, it was over 3-0. It was over after Lane Lambert calls a timeout to settle his troops, and the Penguins score 12 seconds later on a breakaway. You knew right then that nothing good was happening.
Right.
So I'm not a big fan or proponent of the a team seeking revenge storyline in sports. I think the guys are a little too businesslike and professional to really be motivated by that. But in this case, the guys kind of cop to the fact that tomorrow night they want to make up for what they put on tape on Wednesday night against the Penguins.
We're just continuing to the Washington game. Paul and I have been over the last couple of years, I wouldn't say critical, but we were very concerned about Oliver Wahlstrom. And when we had a show a couple of weeks back, I noticed watching warm-ups, and we knew he wasn't playing that night, but I watched him like he was like in a fog. He was just going around doing the motions and just something about it. But my question to you, and again, you see it in the locker room, you see a lot more than obviously the fans do. What's going to be the situation? I mean, because he had to take advantage of the opportunities he's had, and now he came in, didn't have that great of a game the other night, and Julien Gauthier comes in with a purpose, and obviously probably had the best game of his professional life last night. But what do you think could be going on in the mind of an Oliver Wahlstrom right now when he had all this accolade, had all this stuff thrown at him, and he's not seizing his opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine there's a lot of frustration there. Wally was pretty clear in training camp that he knew this was a prove-it season for himself this year,
Right.
and he can't even stay in the lineup. So, I sort of felt when the Islanders popped him back into the lineup 2 of the last 3 games prior to the Capitals game that we're at the point now where the Islanders are probably trying to showcase him because I just don't think he fits with what they're doing anymore. He's had plenty of time to show the organization what he can do. I think they're headed for a split after this season anyway. So I was thinking they were probably trying to showcase him, but even that didn't work. They had him out for that 7-0 game where no one's going to be looking at the tape of that.
Yeah,
So, and especially look, if / when Zach Parise comes back, they're going to need a roster spot. And, it's guys like Gauthier and more, immediately Oliver Wahlstrom that the team's going to look to for a roster spot. So, I would think you'd try and showcase him, maybe trade him off and see what you can get at this point. But his value can't be very high right now.
right. Paul?
Andrew, real quick, you just had a piece, I want to say about an hour ago, mentioning that Scott Mayfield is joining the team. Ryan Pulock has been put onto long-term injured reserve. I would like to know uh, what is your feeling on Adam Pellick's return? Sooner, later?
Probably later, Paul. Without being a doctor, I sort of felt I sort of felt that Pelly might be in the 6 to 8 week kind of timeline when he got hurt, and that was we're talking about what November 24th in Ottawa, right? So
Mhm.
we're probably about a month in right now, 4 weeks. So again, not being a doctor and not being in the room and not having confirmation on what's wrong with him, just having a pretty educated guess. I would say we're probably still 2 to 4 weeks away from maybe a Pelly return. somewhere
Has he
in
been
there.
skating?
He's been skating on his own, not with the
Okay.
team. Scott Mayfield, but then again, his injury and it's not really a secret. We believe it's kind of a left wrist, left arm injury. You can skate with that,
Right.
and the times he's been on the ice, we've seen him gripping a stick as well. So him and Mayfield of the three, and again, the team moved Ryan Pulak to long-term injured reserve today from IR. But that's sort of paperwork because he's retro to December 7th, so he right now satisfies all the the 10 games and the 24 days or whatever it is. He's eligible to be activated, but I don't think he hasn't even resumed skating yet. Pulak. And then Scott Mayfield, the hope was he was going to travel with the team. We'll confirm that tomorrow. But that was the hope, that he was going to be on the trip. And of the three, he seems like his return is the most imminent, if not imminent, just in general.
Gary?
Yeah, and one final thing for me, Andrew, and again, we really appreciate you jumping on with us.
No, for you guys, no worries. And, yeah.
With all of the, defensive issues that we've had the injuries with, and, the goal numbers have gone up. So would you say that a great New Year's resolution would be that when these guys are healthy, that the return to what we call the Islander kind of play will help hopefully reduce the shot numbers that they've been facing lately, and especially a lot of stuff that Ilya's had to deal with over the last few games, and get that level back? Because to me, certainly yesterday was a great example of the 5-on-5 play that this team is desperately needed. But if you combine that with hopefully the defensive guys getting back, that would you think that would be the biggest New Year's resolution that this team needs to have?
Oh yeah, and I would say, if I was placing odds, that's a safer resolution than my yearly plea to myself to lose weight. I think I think the Islanders can accomplish that, right? It's been tough for them. It's just, as good as Mike Riley and Robert Bortuzzo have, they bring what they bring, right? And Lou Lamoriello did a really good job of really giving up nothing and getting in two veteran NHL defensemen at a moment's notice when the Islanders were really injury strapped. But Robert Bortuzzo and Mike Riley are not, they're not Adam Pelech, they're not Ryan Pulak, and I know Scotty Mayfield has sort of had a rocky season, but he's essentially played through injuries since day one this season. We have not really seen a healthy Scott Mayfield yet. So, so I mean, you look at the penalty kill, and those are three of their top penalty killers, and it's not a real shock that the Islanders are 31st, 32nd in the league if you delete three of their top defensemen as penalty killers. So they got to cut down on the shots. They got to support Ilya Sorokin more. Ilya, as good as he's been, he needs to step up his game too. He knows that the numbers have not been where they were last season, and it all fits together like a jigsaw puzzle, as know. The defense was a no-show against the Penguins. Ilya did as well as he could, but he just after a while the dam broke, and Ilya was powerless to stop that. And they when the Islanders are good, they keep the shots to the outside, like those games against the Hurricanes. Even though they were 5-4 games, and the Hurricanes take a ton of shots, but the Islanders did a really good job of protecting the crease in those two games. And that for sure. and that's what you got to see out of this team. Yeah.
Just one quick thing before we let you go. I just thought about this. any word on Varley? I know probably Ken Appleby is on the trip, I would assume. And
No,
any
actually, they returned Ken Appleby to
Oh, they did.
Bridgeport. Yeah,
Oh,
so
I didn't see that.
the team would not confirm. I reached out. The team would not confirm whether Semyon Varlamov was on the trip. But without a corresponding move, you have to assume that Varlamov is going to be able to dress as
Oh,
Ilya's
that's great.
backup. Yeah, no, you know, I don't know. I think a few of us wrote the same thing as soon as Varlamov doesn't practice on Thursday. But this could be the organization's fatal flaw, because past Sorokin and past Varlamov, there is no one in the organization who is even close to being NHL ready. So if
Yeah.
either one of these two guys gets hurt, it's really going to, I would say it would completely harpoon the team's playoff chances if either one got hurt.
Right. Well,
All right. Andrew, I'm out of questions, Gary. I know, Andrew's got to work tonight doing some of that scouting, but anything
Yeah.
anything else for Andrew? Or are you
no,
good,
I
Gary?
think we're good. Listen, like I said, we really appreciate the time. You've always been a friend of mine, coming on GBB with me when I did radio. And, again, we love, reading your stuff. And like I said, I'll see you in Nashville, my friend.
I'm looking forward to that. And listen, Paul, Gary, have a very, very happy and healthy New Year. Best to your families. And I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Andrew. Thanks again. All right, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Gotta get him off the.
Yeah, I got him.
Yeah,
And that was Andrew Gross. That was Andrew Gross from Newsday. Yeah, just he was working tonight. Very gracious to come in, give us a few minutes of his time and whatnot. Listen, we had where's Matthew here? He's got he had one question. Yeah, here we go. Wallstrom has never gotten a fair shot, and it's even more unfair all the criticisms he's received. Listen, I don't think Wally has played bad this season, especially after coming off of a knee surgery. It's just that he's not doing the things that he was supposed to do in college and the Bridgeport Sound Tigers when he was there. Which was, faster skating and more of a forecheck. And let's be honest, with Gauthier, who is now 26, not 23, Gauthier, this is Gauthier's last chance, in all honesty, to show that he can still play in the NHL. Granted, both players did not get legit chances yet to really shine with their respective organizations that they were drafted in. But in Wallstrom's case, and I've said this before, when you go to college, you got to play 2 years. You got to play 2 years minimum. Wally only played 1. If Wally played those 2 years in college and did his 3 years in Bridgeport, like I don't want to say a normal draft prospect should do, Wally would be down in Bridgeport right now, tearing it up, waiting for his time. And then the Islanders probably would have given him a little longer of a leash.
And as
COVID hit,
go ahead. Right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your sentence. Finish.
Yeah, COVID hit. He didn't get a lot of games in Bridgeport. They brought him up here early. He didn't go play in juniors after college. A lot of his progress was hampered. A lot of that development was hampered. And now you got to learn on the fly in the NHL. That's tough to do. When you're in the NHL, you got to be ready to play. And, again, Wallstrom, it doesn't look like Wallstrom's out of place. He just needs a place to play. Yeah, Gary.
No, I'm just saying, and as a first-round pick, there is obviously a lot more undue pressure to, be that person that everybody expected you to be. And I think, like I said, COVID is a reason, but you can't make it a reason. You've got to be able to rise above that. And and again, you watch. Oh, I watch practice very, very carefully. And, and you're looking at body language. You're looking at what things you're seeing out of guys, even if it's practice time, even if it's warm-up time, you see something. And the last couple of times I've really paid attention to Oliver Wahlstrom in practice, even though if he's in or out of the lineup, it just doesn't look like he's all there. And that is not what you expect from a first round pick and with whatever, potential, success that we think he's supposed to have.
Right.
But at this point, at this juncture, at this age, and what's going on, I have to say, if I was in the general manager's shoes, I might be looking to make some kind of a deal. Because you got to remember, everybody's here. You're hearing it that Zach Parise may be coming back. So that's another missed opportunity for him. So what are you going to do? What should the organization do? I mean, granted, you may send him somewhere else or let him go, and he may turn into Mike Gartner. He might turn into some great offensive person. But you know what? It's not going to happen here, unfortunately. I think the show has ended its course. Reluctantly.
And I'm gonna respectfully disagree with Jim here. Barzell moving the right wing was not the nail in Wally's coffin. Kyle Palmieri staying healthy right now has been the nail in Wally's
Yeah.
coffin. And I have said this before. I think if Wallstrom had a future with the Islanders, it would have been replacing Kyle Palmieri. The other thing that Wallstrom does not have going for him is that William DeFore is doing very well in Bridgeport. And I'm not just talking about scoring goals. His skating has improved. His forechecking has improved. The overall 200 game has improved. The only thing he needs is to play more. And Dufour is doing that. So when Palmieri's contract is done and over with, Dufour is in that perfect time slot where his entry-level contract will be over. You can replace Kyle Palmieri with William DeFore and run with that kid. So Wallstrom is literally stuck in a position where there is none.
There's
If Kyle Palmieri gets injured tomorrow, Wallstrom's on that second line. That's it. That's where he's supposed to be. But Kyle Palmieri staying as healthy as he has and still showing he's got, the numbers to show he can play at least one more year with the Islanders, that's hurting Wally's chances. And Gauthier right now, to me, is a better third line forward who has better chemistry with Pajot and Holmstrom than Wallstrom does. And that's nothing against Wallstrom's game. So, all right. Moving forward for a little bit now. This is kind of like a New Year's resolution. And I don't want to sound like a homer because you guys know I can be critical at times. The Islanders right now are currently sitting in second place, tied with Philadelphia. I know everyone's had the Islanders in second place for the longest time, but I'll tell you right now, they weren't. And no, this is not, Rob Brindamore saying they didn't beat us moment. No. The percentages had the Islanders in either third or fourth the last couple of weeks. And that's because Washington hadn't played enough games, but their winning percentage was better. And the Islanders and Flyers have been flip-flopping. It hasn't been until last night's win against Washington that the Islanders have been in second place. Because if you remember, if you go back to the COVID bubble, where did they take every team's place in the standings? They did it by the percentages because certain teams couldn't play the certain amount of games. That's what you have to do during the regular season. But we're at a point now.
Points are important when you hit game 82, but as you're going, because look at Ottawa, they have 6 games. They have 6 games less played than almost every team.
Yeah, and Brian, I'm not disagreeing here. They're looking good, but I'm about to throw something else at you guys. How good is this team really going to be when Pulock, and Mayfield get back? Because that was a beautiful segue from Andrew. He didn't realize what he was going to do with the show here. Okay. And I'm going to explain to you guys what I've been talking about. So yes, the Islanders right now are on pace for 101 points. Are they going to finish with 101? No, that's not what we talk about here. They're healthy at the moment, despite the standings, despite all the injuries. As a team, they're coming together. How high can they go? And I'm going to explain my reasoning for that. My biggest gripe with this team, and along with everybody else, and you guys have been absolutely right. The overall team defense has not been good. Me specifically, I don't think the team has been that good. And the reason why I say that is because their 5-on-5 play, which is something the Islanders have always been good at, is not good this year. Their power play has saved their butts quite a few times, but I'm going to go in a different direction here. With Sorokin and Varlamov in net, the Islanders are on pace to give up 254 goals, despite the fact that their offense is on pace to get them roughly 275. That 254 goals against is bad.
Yep.
You want to get as close to 230 as possible. And after tonight, I may go 240. Okay. Allow me to explain this why. For those of you drinking, put your drinks down. Okay. When the Islanders give up 3 goals or less this season, 14, 1, and 2. Let me repeat that. Because when I did it, I had to go over, I did the whole research all over again. I couldn't believe it. When the Islanders give up 3 goals or less in a game, they're 14, 1, and 2. Gary, I almost fell over.
Yeah.
I had a what the hell moment.
Yeah.
What were you
30
thinking
out
when
of
I
30.
told you those numbers before? What were you
Yeah, that's
thinking?
like a 900. It's a 900 percentage. And again, you're looking at percentages as you were before talking
Yeah,
about it. It's a 900 percentage.
they're 3, 8, and 7 the other times. 3, 8, and 7 when they give up 4 goals or more. My New Year's resolution for this team, I hope the defensemen get healthy. But imagine this team. Imagine if they can hold on with what they're doing and they get Pellick and Pullock back with Mayfield by like February or the beginning of March. And they actually help Sorokin out. Gary, how high can they go in the regular season here? Can they catch up to the Rangers?
It's a possibility. I can't see any reason why they're not. I mean, what have Islander fans been complaining about for the last 4 years? What is the main thing they've complained about? Power play.
Yeah.
Right. Scotty Gomez, John Gruden or whatever. Now you got John McClain doing it, and it's finally clicking. I see it in sitting in my end zone seat, and watching the power play either coming at me or going to me. I am so much impressed by the fact that the bodies are moving. We knew so many times that they were stationary. And for my wife, who's listening upstairs, and I can hear the feedback 10 seconds behind, she's yelling, they're not moving, they're standing still. If she's saying it and she's seeing it, then it's got to be obvious to everybody. And it's been, I mean, last night's wasn't that tremendously great, but overall, it is a so much different power play. Again, Barzy and the chemistry between Barzy and Horvat, it's very impressive. They've done the things that we were worried about what would happen this year are happening. The goals numbers have gone up. You said it before the season started. You said it again. The goal numbers are up. We had to bring it up at least a half a goal a game. We're much above that half goal a game.
Damn right.
And we've gone through and played incredible hockey where we've only lost 3 games in regulation out of 20 with a depleted defense. At 1.4 of your 6 were out. Now you've got 3 are out, and you're playing with 2, I won't say unqualified, but definitely, lacking of experience guys that are having to learn on the fly.
Sure.
But you're missing your 2 top defensive defensemen.
And you're essentially playing 2 rookies.
Yeah, exactly. So you're getting to this point with that. And that will fix a lot of your 5-on-5. Because they've made strides. Aho and Bolduc have made good strides coming up, but you could still see their deficiencies. You could still see their lack of attentiveness or concern on certain plays bringing the puck out. I know I heard this before, but sometimes you'd like to see these defensemen, instead of just pushing the puck out, take a couple of steps, see what's going on before they make that pass up into the neutral zone. And I think when these guys finally learn that, their games will improve. And that's we're at that point where that's what we're looking for. But when these guys get healthy and you've got solid 5-on-5 play from these 3 players, I mean, we may not see Pulak for a little while, but when these guys come back, you've got the makings of what you need. Your offense improved, your defense is strong, and we know the goaltending, despite the numbers, has been really good. Barring the game on Wednesday night, we know that the goaltending is solid, but we know we have a deficiency because of the guys we're missing. When that all comes back and this team goes to playing the way they've been playing, I'm not going to say yes, it's possible they can catch him. Are they going to? I don't know. But there is that possibility can happen.
And yes, this is going to be another one. We'll give Thomas credit here. Your assessment on Dobson Gary was spot on. I think he's the best defenseman in hockey. I don't think he's there yet, but at the same time, Gary, I don't think we've seen the best of Noah Dobson
No,
yet.
we've
I still
not.
think there's more to come.
I say he's top 5. Absolutely. Sure. I would put, you look at, Makar and that, and I would put him just a little bit below him. I think, on NHL Now, they called him Makar Light. And sure. I would say that's a definite possibility. He's getting, he's gotten his baptism by fire, and he's taken that and run with it. Yes, I really think you're going to see more out of him. Again, 23 years old. That's all he is. When Makar came on the scene, he was 23.
Yeah.
Okay, he was 4 years in college. So he was 22, 23 years old when he was making his impact with the Avalanche. And we all knew, Paul can attest to it. Paul and I were going gaga over this kid when he was 18.
Yep.
Because somebody told me, watch this kid. And I watched the video on this kid. And I'm like, he had that kind of, composure. Yeah. Definitely, was comfortable in his own shoes. And, those things you don't see often. It's very rare on the defensive side. You see somebody that young and that smart. So, you just, using the name of the show, curb your enthusiasm a little bit. Let it sit, but don't, it's there, but let it simmer a little more. Let it simmer a little more. Get everybody
I
back,
think this show. Boom. No, I think this show. I'm gonna let loose here a little bit, because I'm telling you right now, boys and girls. I'm liking that third line of Holmstrom, Peugeot, and Gauthier. And Gary, I got to ask you. I know Pajot had Anthony Duclair on that top line with Ottawa, but man, I'm telling you, this might be the best line Pajot has had in his career, and it's just the beginning of it.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Julian Gauthier spent a lot of time in the last 2 years riding the pine at the Garden.
Yep.
I watched enough of him to see, the talent he's got. Big guy, can skate well, likes to, grip into the offensive game when he can. And we all saw it last night, and we were talking about it before we went on air, that he's got a lovely little backhand, and it was on display last night.
Yeah.
I like, again, we've been all very, very pleasantly surprised with Simon's maturity and influence on that third line. And it was only, Pajot, Nelson, Lee are always been known in their Islander careers as extremely streaky players.
Yep.
And so far this year, we haven't seen that out of JG. But you in the last couple of games rolling up, minus Wednesday, rolling up to it, we've seen some things out of JG. I at least been noticing some things out of him, that he's been a little more engaging. I think these guys are putting a little step in his giddy up, and you're right. I think this is probably the nicest chemistry he's had, and definitely in the last 2 years.
Since Ottawa, since Anthony Duclair.
Yeah. I could buy that.
And again, folks, I'm going to go again here. Holmstrom is a rookie, a 22-year-old rookie. He's a 22. He's got one more year of development, as far as I'm concerned.
He's technically not a rookie, but yeah, in all in honest points, he is.
Right, but here's the interesting part for me. Holmstrom's got 10 goals, 5 of them shorthanded. You take out those shorthanded goals, he's barely on pace for that third line with 12 goals. That's 12 goals for a third liner is the absolute bare minimum. You probably want to see more. His point total also is not there yet. Again, at the beginning of the season, I wanted Holmstrom to go down to Bridgeport just to shoot the puck. The kid can do everything else. I just wanted him to shoot the puck. Like the moment he got the puck, be completely greedy. I don't care what kind of an angle, shoot the puck. Get that mentality going. Now, I need him to be that playmaker that I had seen him in Bridgeport, because he can pass that puck. No doubt about it. And Gary, I got to tell you, adding the speed of Gauthier, who can also shoot that puck, if we see a nice little consistent longevity from this third line, because I'll tell you right now, this is the other thing that stuck out to me. Their 5-on-5 play, and I know you guys don't look at the plus minus things anymore, but this is very important. 5-on-5, the plus minus. When that line did not score a point at all during the games, Holmstrom is a -7. Pajot is a -18. Julian Gauthier is a -4, granted 16 games. Oliver Wahlstrom was a -9. That's when all of them scored 0 points in a game. When you do the 5-on-5, the goal differential, Holmstrom's a -5, meaning he's been on the ice. He's given up more goals than he has scored. JG Pajot is a -7. Julian Gauthier is a +1. Oliver Wahlstrom is a -8. Granted, defensemen do play a role in this, no doubt. But if this is a line that can stay consistent, forecheck a little bit better, get some of these defensemen back, Gary, I ask, is it possible that we have the best third line in hockey in the near future?
Well, let's not go after a couple of games on that. I'm not saying you couldn't be right. You could be right, but let the jury deliberate on that a little bit. Let's not go too far ahead of the cart.
How
You know,
how how many games would you need to see this line go in order to say that's the
well,
line?
when
Let's
most
roll.
things we look at, we look in the beginning of season. We again, originally you look at 10 games. You look at that.
Sure.
I would, you know, they had one game where it was great. Let's give it say to the until around maybe the third week of January. Let's give it some time. Let
Fair enough.
them percolate a little bit. I'm
Okay.
not saying you're wrong. I'm not
Right.
saying you're right. I'd say I just want a little more time to let them grow. It's a
And
great.
that, boys and girls, that's what you need to do over the next month, 2 weeks to a month. Watch this third line. Watch the
Yeah.
chemistry produce, if they
we
produce
were
at all.
always we were always comfortable and still are to a sense. I think it's a little different now than it was a couple of years prior, but we know what the fourth line brings you. You
Yeah.
know what the top line brings you. The question, and we know the second line has a function. Our biggest panacea, or a little stubborn point was that third line. I
Correct.
think the third line has something to show. And if it shows it, there is a definite high watermark for this team. Because then you absolutely know that you could be comfortable throughout the entire game with what line you step out on the ice, whether you're at home or on the road. You know what you're going to get. And we haven't seen that third line be as effective in God knows how long.
Since Blake, Scatcherd, and Kavasha, it's been a while, folks.
Wow, you're putting hairs
Yes,
back on my head, Paul.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
So, folks, look, at the very least, this is going to be a fun team to watch. If it's time to do some scouting on this team, it's now. Um, and again, let's quickly go over the. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to put this down. Yeah, if they can find a way to, that was the whole theme this year. For this New Year's, if they can find a way to improve the penalty killing before the trio come back, I'm not gonna lie right now. The Islanders for the last 3 weeks have been at 72.4%. They've been in the lower 70s for right now. Granted, last in the league, but I haven't seen them in the 60s. And again, you've got a rookie in Simon Holmstrom playing penalty killing. They're granted he's got the shorthanded goals and whatnot, but are we seeing a maturation out of this penalty kill? Or do we really need those trios, the new trio grande in this case of defensemen to come back to save the penalty kill, Gary?
I think it's important. There's yes, Simon has 5 shorthanded goals, leads the NHL. It's a great story. I think he's not. I think he's still not fully there.
He's not. I can tell you right now, he's not.
He has his opportunities. He's taken advantage of his opportunities. But there's other things I see in the PK that I think still needs some seasoning. So I think it's very important to get the D back, because that was the symbol of what the Islander penalty killing was: clogging up the lanes, getting sticks on pucks. You see with Robert Bortuzzo coming in, one of the things I like about Robert Bortuzzo is he dives. He's constantly taking his 6'5" frame, diving and stretching that stick out. That is one hell of a wingspan, and that's important. I think those things that are done similarly by Pellick and Pulak and Mayfield, I think would be to their advantage. I think if the Isles can find, and I'll just take that sentence and go a little further. If the Isles find a way to improve their penalty killing by 3% right now, 3% from the overall number, you're saving about 3 to 4 goals on the power play.
Yeah.
So that means you improve that 5-on-5 also at the same time. That could be 2 or 3 wins right there. So I really think that, just that little bit, a baby step, saving 1 or 2, penalty kills in the next 4 or 5 games could lead you a couple points.
I do like this. We are full of third and fourth liners. We should have the best third line. Yeah, at some point we'll get all the combinations right. But again, in a way, I don't know if Charles was trying to be funny or not, but this has been Lambert's job this entire season so far, trying to find the right chemistry on all these lines. And he's finally got it. He's got all 4.
Yeah, he's got it now.
He's got it now. So, there's more positive to this, but again, obviously, injuries will play a role to a degree. We'll see where it goes from there. All right. Is there anything else you want to touch on, Gary, with, if the Islanders can find a way to, what else are you looking for?
Well, I just see in the comments that Jim P just put in, where does Parisi fit?
Yeah.
And I think let's take that statement. If the Islanders can find a way to bring Zach Parisi back into the fold, whether it's on that third line or make a fill in a fourth line, move Fasching and Parisi around, interchange them for a little bit. What does that do to the confidence of the team? That's a big if. And I, again, love Zach and love the effort he gives you. And I'm sure when he comes back, it will be nothing less than what we saw of him last season. I wouldn't doubt it for a second, but that's gonna be a huge question. That's one I can't answer right now, but again, it's something to chew on.
Okay. So look, for me, there's a lot more optimism tonight with the Islanders at this point. I mean, if they can find a way as a team, it's not going to take one person at this point. If they can absolutely find a way to get those goals against as a team down to 3 goals or less. And again, I'm not saying that if they get down to 3 goals or less, the Islanders are going to rip apart everybody. That's not what I'm saying is. That record is showing the behavior of a team. Okay? The Islanders can give up 3 goals a game for the rest of the year. They're not going to finish whatever that 900% record is.
Yeah.
But they'll win more games. They're not going to go 3-8-2. Okay? The Islanders are probably going to win 65% of those games. Solid. And 65% of those games may be enough to catch the Rangers.
Right. You go from
The
101
Rangers are not doing that great now.
You go from a 101 potential that you said earlier in the show to 105, 107, and that's going to definitely give you a better chance.
Yeah.
But again, let's not think of getting first place. You got to get the structure down. You've got to get those numbers down. Don't think of going to overtake them yet. Get your game better. And then when the game gets better, then you start thinking about where you can be.
Yeah.
And that's what Islander fans have to do. And that's a definite panacea for this fan base, is they think too far ahead. Let's move it up a little bit. Let's get the D back. Let's get the 5-on-5 play better. Let's improve the PK. Get those things better. Get which translates to wins. And then let's start looking when you get to February, March, when you start hitting the trade deadline. What can make this team better? So think of those other things first before you think about where you're going. And you know what? We had a 7-0 loss on Wednesday night. Screw it. Forget about it. If we have a bad game on the road trip, put it in the garbage and forget about it, because this team is, as we know, and has been a reason for the last few years of some of the successes that they've had, that they've been able to forget about that game, go to the next game with a better attitude, and fix the problems. They did it last night. They can continue to do that.
Yeah. And again, Mike makes a great point. We haven't played the Rangers yet, but you know what? In all honesty, it doesn't matter.
No, does not
We're
matter
only
at all.
playing them 3 times. Who cares? We're playing them 3 times. We're playing them 3 times. The Rangers could still be on pace for an epic collapse by the end of the season. And those 3 games may not even matter against the Islanders. Because I'll tell you right now, the knowledgeable Ranger fans that I talk to, they're still nervous. They're waiting for the rug to get pulled from underneath them. They're waiting for it. Jonathan Quick is a huge reason why the Rangers are in first place. He's not the only reason, but he's a big reason.
Yep.
So, there are a lot of Ranger fans that are still very hesitant. They're happy where they are, don't get me wrong. But, I've said this before. If Carolina gets everything together, I don't care where they finish. If it's the Rangers and Carolina in the first round, I may go Carolina. Sorry. The Rangers have not shown me enough team defensively wise that they can handle Carolina. Sorry. Those are going to be some of those moments. I have no idea what Todd went with that one. Drunk on the silver. Not a clue.
Not a clue.
Not a clue.
Full send.
Maybe the wrong chat room. All right.
Yeah.
Listen, I didn't realize it's almost, we can go a little longer tonight.
Of course.
Water cooler talk. Questions, comments, concerns. I did have one up here. It was on by Tim. Does Bortuzzo stick around?
Maybe.
Maybe. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and again, you guys correct me, I don't think the salary cap matters after the trade deadline. Or it does to a degree.
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Definitely not the playoffs. Playoffs, it doesn't matter. We're all good there. Again, would I keep Bortuzzo for the Stanley Cup Finals? Freudian slip there. Stanley Cup playoff run? Yeah.
Yeah.
Would I keep Bortuzzo around to help mentor Samuel Bolduc, at least for the rest of this season? Yeah.
You saw what a Stanley Cup champion did to Noah Dobson. It could be,
Yeah.
Remember, like it or not, Bortuzzo is a Stanley Cup winner.
Yeah.
And he knows what it's like to be in those situations. Again, he's not the most talented tool on the shed, but he's definitely, and they've said he's done a lot for Samuel already.
Right.
Samuel is still a very raw player, and you could see that being put with him has helped him a lot.
Sure. Looking ahead before getting the job. Yes, I am. Just for this show, Todd. I normally don't do this. I'm a very big critic. Believe me, it's theirs. But this is the reason why I'm a little, I'm all rays of sunshine and rainbows on this show in particular. It's because the Islanders are this close. They're this close from breaking off from the rest of the teams in the Metro Division. Real quick, the Islanders are 7-3-4 in the Metro, folks. They're 7-3-4 with one no-show against Pittsburgh. And it's as I just said this before, when the Islanders give up 3 goals or less, they're 14-1-2.
Yeah, and again, going on your percentages, that's about a .650 winning percentage in the division. That's good. That's good. 650 point percentage, you want that. That is I will call it a top 10 in the league team.
Yeah.
If you're going,
but that goes
in your own
into
division.
What the Islanders have done, accidentally, of course, is that it goes back to my significant number of 230 of where I was hoping the Islanders would give up for the rest of the season. Because when the Islanders give up 230 goals or less, they've got a 93% chance of making the playoffs. But the other thing that they need to do is get that goal differential to the positive. They got to start playing an overall better defensive game as well. And it's not just scoring more goals. That's not going to get you anywhere, especially in the playoffs. So the Islanders are backing up the info that I'm telling you guys. But again, as Andrew Gross said, we're missing 3 of our top defensemen. And as Gary said before, we're playing with 223. I think Bolduc is 23.
Yeah.
We're playing with 3 23-year-old defensemen that are going to be here for a while. So, yes, I'm definitely on a little more positive side tonight. I'm looking at the what if. I'm looking at 23-year-old Simon Holmstrom coming together. If only he could score a few more 5-on-5 goals. I'd be much happier with him. But, Julian Gauthier found a home. I would love to see what he continues to do with that line coming together. If that line comes together, the overall 5-on-5 game probably gets better as the season goes on, especially when we get the defenseman back in time for the playoffs. So, yeah, I am. It is more hopeful than anything else, but Gary and I are starting to see the trend of the Islanders actually progressing upward. And for me tonight, I want to see how far they can go. And the question is, in the long run, could I see them passing Philly? Yes. Do we have enough to catch up to the Rangers? We could. The question is, are the Rangers going to come back down to earth? The answer is yes. The question is how quickly and how hard. Because God love Jonathan Quick. I don't know if he can do it for a full season. And if he does, he gets a Vezina nod as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You got to tap your stick to Jonathan Quick. So, yes, that's why I'm a little higher on this show right now with all the positivity and stuff for this show. There's possibilities coming out of this team that I didn't see even a week ago. Like, it's all there. So, sorry, Jim. Come here. Does Bortuzzo make Mayfield or Pullock expendable?
No, absolutely not.
Even Andrew kind of said that himself on the in the beginning of the show. Bortuzzo's a nice fill-in, but he's not Pullock, he's not Mayfield. However, Jim, to your point, I am expecting more out of Pullock when he does get back. I need him to be an older version of Noah Dobson in some way, shape, or form, putting up some kind of points, putting up some kind of defensive mode. And as far as Scott Mayfield goes, he's been injured all season. Andrew said that at the beginning of the show. Let me see what a healthy Scott Mayfield is, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and a lot of people were ripping Scott Mayfield all year long, for all the situation. But remember, he's not been healthy. He's not been the Scott Mayfield that has done some great things for this organization over the 10 years that he's played here.
Right.
So give it a chance.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if Brian's joking with me or not. Lambert will be coach of the year. No, as a matter of fact, I think Rick Tocchet should get coach of the year
coach
for Vancouver.
The year, not coach of the year. Read it.
Oh, excuse me. I can't read tonight. Will be coach for the year. Yes. Look, I've said this before. I don't know if I said it on a previous show. I was given the impression that Lambert was not going anywhere anyway. Take that for what it was. I was told this was specifically player-based. This was on the players this year. And that was very obvious with Lou, giving praise to Horvat and Barzell, but he knew they could do more. The guys basically said, they basically said, challenge accepted. No, I can't read the screen. So, yeah, Brian will pick on me for that later. But all the players have stepped up. Listen, there was one on Pierre Enval. Is he tradable or is he still with, is he a dud? No, he's not a dud. Is he streaky? Yes.
Yes.
Does he fit the line? Yes.
Yes.
Do we need to see more out of Pierre Enval? Yes.
Absolutely.
No doubt. No doubt. You know what? I think that might be my only negative of the night. I think Pierre Enval has got to show more consistency on the offense. No doubt. Give me one moment here. Enval.
For
Enval's on
for
pace.
every line, to me, for every forward line, you need someone with speed on that line. And Pierre is very sneaky speedy. And I
Yeah,
think that works with Palmieri crashing and Brock with his playmaking skills.
yeah,
So that is a good mesh of a line. But yeah, there have been times where honestly Pierre just looks like he's off the page. But
sure.
he's a good fit with those two. And when they're together and when that second line is on its game, they didn't need him obviously last night, but when that second line is clicking, when all three are clicking, that is a damn good line, and we all know that.
Yeah,
So again, it's just a great situation where the third line last night picked up where the second line wasn't doing anything.
right.
So it's going to happen. Some other way that it's going to reverse. So yeah, I think it'll fit. And yes, what Brian said, he seems lazy. He's not. It's not that he's lazy. It's just
He's long.
because of the fact of the way his speed and the way his
Stride.
demeanor looks on the ice, it looks lazy. But believe me, it's not, because he doesn't need a lot of effort to do what he's got to do. Yeah, sometimes he may be off off his game, but believe me, I don't think it's laziness that's being the cause.
Right. All right. So this is water cooler talk as well. Let's get into not you, Brian. Get out of here. Wally gone. Um, Listen, I've said this before. Ever since Adam Pelech went on long-term Rangers reserve, Lou Lamoriello's got cap space to play with. He was always on my trade watch. I, since day one of that, I've had Lou on my radar. Who's he going to trade? What package can he come up with? Now we found out from Andrew that both Pullock and Pelech are still injured, still on long-term injured reserve for a little while longer, for what, at least the next 2 weeks. Let's just have fun with that. Yeah, you're looking at just under $10 million. What is Lou going to do? Is he going to do anything? So again, tomorrow, if Kyle Palmieri gets injured, is Wally going anywhere? No. Wally's going to get slotted into that second line where he should have been all along in terms of his development. If Kyle Palmieri stays healthy, does Lou make a trade then? Probably around the trade deadline or January. Again, it's January. Lou loves to make a trade around January, early February. Anyway, him and Rutherford have always been known to get things done early, but it's always something to improve the organization. It's not just a trade deadline thing. Look, the other beat reporters, they said it. Goaltending is an issue. I agree to a certain extent. I would also go as far as saying that the Bridgeport Islanders are a very young, raw team. Those numbers don't shock me from Jakob Skarek and Appleby. Those two are definitely not going to save your season like Varlamov and Sorokin can, but I'm not shocked to see those numbers. Bridgeport itself is, they're a very young, raw team. Having said that, could you trade Wallstrom? Could you trade Sebastian Aho? Could you trade a couple of those players for maybe a goalie prospect, for maybe a third round pick in this year's draft? Who knows? Could you get a little bit more from Wally? You could, but I think Lou could probably plug in a few holes with a trade like that. But you have to remember, even if that's to make room for Zach Parisi, at some point you have to be below the salary cap when Pelech and Pullock return. And as of right now, they won't be, even if they bring back Zach, because Bortuzzo and Riley are still here, and there's no one to send down anymore. You can't do it. So, again, the answer is we'll see. But as far as I'm concerned, Lou Lamoriello has $10 million to play with, just under $10 million to play with. He's been on my trade watch now since a month now. So I think he's just trying to work out the numbers, trying to see what value he can get back. And again, if it's someone he can re-sign, wonderful. Sign to a contract.
Because you always know that's what Lou is going to look for in the long run. If he's going to get somebody, he's going to get somebody that's going to stay here, not just be a rental. He never does rentals.
Right. Oh, I agree with this, Todd. Getting the team to the backstretch healthy and knowing they can play and beat the best without getting cocky, this team will be at a photo finish. I think they're going to finish this race ahead of a lot of other teams before. If they can get healthy, sure. I think the Devils are still going to struggle to get in.
Yeah, they've got goaltending issues.
I think I the Canes are still going to struggle even though they're there. Does Philly collapse? That's a big one for me. John Tortorella, as far as I'm concerned, is the Jack Adams nomination for what he's done with Philly so far. What happens if Philly stays in?
That the young kids they got that they're doing as well as they are, it's incredible. But that's at some point it's going to take a dip. It's got to.
Right.
It's got to take a dip.
Wally to San Jose or Chicago. I don't know if I would do that to Wally. I think he's better than most of those players on San Jose and Chicago. I think they're a little too far back. I would probably look at Ottawa. I would probably look at Arizona. I would probably look at a couple of those teams that, yes, he needs a place to play, but they're a little higher up than a complete, in all honesty, they're expansion teams. Let's just face it. They're down at the bottom. Mm-hmm. They're playing like expansion teams at the moment. I think Wally is better than that. And that would just defeat us. That would blow out his confidence. Put him with another younger team on the rise. I don't know if I'd go Buffalo. Ottawa, for me, makes a lot of sense. Look, I would love to get Brandstrom out of Ottawa for Wally. Brandstrom on a third pair. But again, I think Brandstrom can play right defense too. I'm not sure. But again, Wally, give me another goalie prospect. Give me a decent goalie prospect for Wally. I'd be good with that.
Yeah.
Skarek done? Yeah. No, I don't think Skarek is done. This year he's seeing a lot of rubber, which is good. The team is not great in front of him. I will say this now. If Varlamov was out for even 5 games, I would be okay with Appleby or Skarek in the net. He would keep them alive. I'm actually for right now. Would give the nod to Appleby over Skarek, but I'm okay with a short-term plan for either one of those goaltenders. Long-term, no, not at all. Let's put it this way: if Varlamov would pull a groin, okay, he's out for quite a while. Then you have to worry. But no, Skarek could probably steal you a game or 2, maybe 3. So, and yes, this is also true, Charles. Enval opens up the second line. He does. He does with his speed. He does, that's the whole kicker. And that's what Gauthier does now. Gauthier opens up that third line with Pajot and Holmstrom. There's no doubt about it. So,
speed gives the ability speed so many times gives the ability for your other forwards to be able to do some magic. I always, you look at good teams. You look at the Colorados of the world. You look at Vegas's, and each line that they have, whether it's first, second, third, or fourth, they all have some type of a speed implement. I mean, Colorado just has speed guys all the time, but that's the sign of a winner. That you don't have, you can have a grind and pound line, but still on that line, you got somebody that's got the ability to put the Jets on. because that's the way
So
this
let
game
me
is
let me
played now.
paint this rosy picture here. I know for some of you, you're all going to throw up here at some point during the show.
Oh God.
But that's on purpose. That's on purpose tonight. Gary, listen. Beginning of the season, we technically didn't have a first line. We didn't even know what chemistry that was.
Yeah.
That took a while. We barely knew what the second line was, but they started producing. The third line was a roulette. Everyone getting inserted back and forth, and we knew what the fourth line was. Weren't getting a lot of offense. The defense was eh. And for the first time in a long time, we've had some so-so goaltending. Now, as we get into game 35, we've identified a first line. The second line continues to produce the way it has. We're starting to see the emergence of a third line now, just recently. The fourth line is now healthy. And we're now playing three 23-year-olds on defense who have basically taken the reins in the spots of those three veteran defensemen. And we're looking at a second place spot right now.
Top 10 in the league. You're at 10.
Yeah.
Based on points, you're at 10. Were we saying that even 3 weeks ago? No.
No. No.
No.
No. That's why I'm having
we
fun on
kept-
this show like this.
And we were telling people, relax. Don't get over anxious with things the way they're going. It's it's like a stew in a crock pot. Crock pots are made to make a meal over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't build, you can use your chemistry set and put two things together and it's going to explode on you or whatever, what you wanted. But in a crock pot, you make something, it takes 6 hours to do because you want everything to mesh together.
Yeah.
And that's what you put a plus to the coaching staff for doing, is you allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes good coaches get it right and they get it right away. But sometimes it takes the game 30 for things to happen. And despite all the injuries and despite all this garbage, again, in a quarter of a season, you didn't get points in 3 games.
Right.
85% of the time, you are getting a point in the standings. That's a powerful symbol without people even thinking about it. All you hear is the garbage that gets spilled out, but 85% of the games, a quarter of a season, you are getting a point in the standings.
And I will say this now, Islander fans. There's 2 points I want to make real quick. Once you get to game 41 and beyond, when I do the point pace, I don't necessarily look at the amount of wins from each team. It changes to the amount of losses. Again, it's like a horse race. In the beginning, you want to jump out, you want to get a good lead. In that second half of this NHL season, you want to maintain that lead. There's only 4 teams left in single-digit losses in the Eastern Conference. The Rangers, the Bruins, ironically, the Leafs, and the Islanders. Heading into the middle part of the season, it's a very tough thing to beat the Islanders in regulation. And we've said this before. The only way the Islanders lose is if they beat themselves. We've seen enough stupid penalties that have cost them games.
Yep.
They have cost them points. We've already seen a no-show. A good chunk of the time, they have been their own worst enemy. If they bring everything together at the right time, look out. The other point I want to make is that for those of you who know and watch this show religiously, I watch the prospects, I follow the prospects all throughout juniors, all throughout their college careers. there is nothing more satisfying to me when I can see three 23-year-olds, even though Romanov wasn't here, but three 23-year-olds holding up the defense the way they have, and watching a 23-year-old Simon Holmstrom help keep this team together despite everything, and knowing they're all going to get better.
Better.
You haven't seen the best of
Spot on.
Simon Holmstrom yet, boys. I'm telling you. You haven't.
Spot on, Paul. Spot on.
That's it. The progression, the build up, and then the magic at the right time. That's it. That's what we're talking about here. So,
Yep.
Gary.
I'm glad people on these boards are seeing that. I just wish more would. I just wish so many more people would realize that.
Yeah. And they will. Just have them follow us. Have them come on here.
Exactly.
Have them come on here. We'll do it. So, Gary, any New Year's resolutions for your Islanders or for yourself? What's going on?
Well, for myself, I want to cut down my visits to doctors. That's for sure. This last month and a half has been a hell of a roller coaster ride for me. And I want to have my wife smiling more because we're not going to a doctor's office or a minute clinic or whatever. So that's definitely one. Again, as I said earlier, I think my New Year's resolution for this team right now, as it stands, is they got to improve that penalty killing. Like I said, improve that penalty killing by 3% right now. I would like it more, obviously, of course. But if we improve it by 3% over a month, if we get that percentage up a little bit and you get out of 31 and put yourself into the mid 20s, I'd take that right now, because that would help, again, reduce a couple of goals against. And that number is going to be a determining factor whether we are playing we potentially could be hosting a first round playoff series or going on the road to a top number one team, whether it's Boston, whether it's the Rangers or whatever. But we got to stay the course until these guys get healthy, until Pelech and Kulak and Mayfield come back. And then there's other big decisions that management has to make, but that's what they're paid to do. But I think I'm very, very pleased, and we said it earlier about Dobson. We've talked about it ad infinitum, and you mentioned it, before, that you put Romanov into the list. And to me, there are times where he's been just a stud on the back line. I love him on the back line. I love he takes no crap from anybody, and that's great. And I think that's a missing link, because I really think he could be a big key come March and April, when things get important. And with those things happening, with those things progressing, people were so upset, ticked off, whatever you want to call it, on how the way the team plays. And everybody was down on Lambert and everybody was blah 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 blah. But very quietly, they're moving themselves up the echelon. And if you can't, despite a bad game here or there, you can't write off this team yet. And I think people around the league are starting to realize that you can't write this team off, because all of a sudden they come back again. Hello, we're here. So cut the penalty killing numbers, improve them, improve your 5-on-5 just a little bit. Again, or you don't have to go from 30th to first overnight. Just work a little bit, baby step it. And I think we will be very happy come April. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, while I do my New Year's resolution here, boys and girls, leave your comments in the chat room. Give me your New Year's resolution for this team or for yourselves or whatnot. We'll put them here real quick. Yeah, I'm going to echo a little bit of what Gary said. The penalty killing for sure needs to improve. Again, 3 points. I would love if the Islanders got as close as 77, but I'll take 75 for now, as long as they're lights out in the playoffs. I'm all right with that. They're lights off in the lights out in the playoffs. I will take that. Um, I really want to see that third line come together because now we have a team that's running 4 lines. And we haven't seen that in a long time. A long time. So I want to see all 4 lines. Um, I do need to see Sorokin play a little bit better, but at the same time, the defensive structure
Will help.
will help. Bringing those guys back whenever they're ready and healthy to come back will also help. Making sure the ice at UBS Arena is good, so that way we don't see any more bouncing pucks in front of Sorokin towards the end of the game. That will also help.
Yeah,
That was annoying.
I
And
know.
listen,
I had to see it on the TV screen. I didn't see it live because we were going down to get a picture taken with the Booster Club on the ice after the game, so I missed it. But I'm like, I watched the replay again, and I'm like, oh my god,
yeah,
that killed me. Oh,
yeah.
even
For
Thomas
Islander
Hickey
fans,
tweeted,
yeah,
even Thomas Hickey tweeted about that after the game that he was so disappointed with the way that puck just bounced over his stick.
shouldn't have. But again, Islander fans, heading into 2024, the calendar year, you've got reason to be excited. Um, the other thing I don't want to see is another 7-0 Doug Weight loss. That's exactly what that was.
Yeah,
And
for
everyone's
sure.
like, well, Doug Weight didn't have his team in second place. Well, guess what? The Islanders stopped playing for one period and it cost them the rest of the game. Yes, one loss. I don't want to see that anymore. I don't mind a 5-2. I don't even mind a 6-2 loss. Show me some effort in the game. There was no effort. That was a, oh, we're out of the second. We ain't coming back from this one. Don't do that again. Ever this season.
Hmm.
So,
Yep.
but again, moving forward from that, Islander fans, I got to tell you right now, they're on pace right now for 101. Can this team rack up 107 to 112? If everything comes together, sure. I mean, why not? You're bringing back your 3 main defensive guys with, honestly, 2 of those 23-year-olds, soon to be 24-year-olds, even more seasoned than when they left. So there's a lot more optimism for me at the moment. Bringing Zach Parisi back would be great, but again, unfortunately, if Wally has to get traded, I need to know the return. It just can't be draft picks. Give me a couple of prospects in there. Give me a good goalie prospect. I'll live with that. We'll go from there. So, for those of you in your resolutions, good luck with those in 2024. Gary, what are you doing on Wednesday?
What am I doing on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Working.
Okay.
It's end
Are
of
you?
year for me. It's end of year for me.
Oh, so you ain't going to be around?
No, probably
Okay.
not.
Cool.
Probably
No.
not.
All right. That means I might go solo. I might have a couple of guests on because that's usually what happens. Gary does get very, very busy around this time of year for the next couple of months. I know Joe has not been feeling well. I know he wants to be on the show. Um, but yeah, I'm probably going to have a guest or two over the next couple of weeks. We're also going to talk about the World Junior Championships, some of those prospects that we've been going over. We'll cover
Yeah.
Bridgeport as well. I've got some of those prospects all lined up. And again, I'm going to go real quick with the prospects. I know you see Danny Nelson right now. You're looking at shoot, not Schultz, wrong Wisconsin player. Who's his left winger?
Oh, I forgot. I'm bad. I'm
A
bad on the names
complete
of these kids.
mind blank. Okay, never mind. I'll get him. Oh, Quinn.
Yeah,
There we go. Thank God.
right.
Man, I'm losing this shit. Quinn Finley. Thank you. Damn, Jim. All right. I will mention this player right now. From Merrimack. Number 18. And again, I'm losing his name. What the hell? I'll bring him up on the prospects next week. I am literally tired at this point. Ah, I lost it. Number 18 for Merrimack. Someone help me out here. Oh. This is embarrassing. I know all the prospects. I just don't get the name at the moment. Oh, this is so bad. I did. I lost all my prospects. Yes, Quinn Finley. I'll eventually tell you Anders Lee's replacement in the NHL, but we'll get to that in the prospects in the month of January. So, listen, everybody, it's time to go. Thank you, one and all, for coming. Happy New Year to all of you.
Yes.
Get ready in the next couple of weeks for a couple of guests. We'll have a lot of fun here. Watch that third line. Watch some of these kids. Watch us slowly climb up the standings. And let's see if the Rangers have a decent collapse, and we'll go from there. So, everybody, from all of us here at Isles Talk, to you and your family, a very happy and blessed new year. Let's go Islanders. And I will be back at least next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, and we'll talk more. All right? Have a great night.